Welcome to Mornings with Monsters.
Good morning, fellow adventurers. Today we have a special monster in our eye. Prepare your wetsuits, don't touch any mucus, and strap in to learn about the Aboleth. Today we are joined by our normal cast. I'm Alex.
I'm Dylan.
I'm Melina.
And we also have a guest on our show for the first time ever, a close friend and one of our fellow D&D players.
And fellow monster enthusiasts.
Yes.
Thank you for the intro. My name's Aether.
So, with that all ready, why don't we unpack this disgusting, aberrant creature known as the Aboleth?
I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty excited for this creepy thing. You guys know one of my favorite things is like comparing creatures throughout the editions. And that this is a creature that has been around since one, and it never left one edition. Second edition, third edition, fourth edition. Every picture is different. They're all a little like I feel like they've adjusted it a little bit through each rendition of it. I'm a fan of the 5th edition rendition of this eel-like creature with like, I don't know, it's got like 3 eyes on its head and a circular teethy maw. It's pretty terrifying, guys. Pretty terrifying.
Yeah, the actual body of it gets pretty confusing because it does change depending on, like, I guess the type or just like how innately powerful it's born. Because it will have slightly different organ placements and things like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I think these are generally deep sea dwelling creatures.
Like undersea.
Undersea, like way yes. I did read something that there's a type that can fly that's not a sea like it essentially like changes itself into a flying thing, but I think that's like super rare occasion, and I don't think many adventurers have ever like come across that type of
Sounds terrifying.
I agree, because when I was reading, it's like, okay, they're going to be the hardest to fight, like in their element, deep sea, you know, undersea, all that shit. But if they're like near the surface, they're not going to be like as hard or like as hard of a battle. They're going to be like, they don't have as much of the advantage. But if you like put them in the sky, then
I think they're just super rare in general.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely.
I was reading like one of the top Reddits that you find like when you Google search Aboleth 5e is someone asks why is the stat block for the Aboleth so weak in comparison to their lore? And there were tons of really, really, really good DMs answering who were saying like an Aboleth is rare and should not be encountered alone or like happened upon. You know, it should be the very end of an arc where, you know, your party has already discovered that these things are happening and there's a connection between these things. And that connection happens to be an ancient Aboleth in the Underdark. And like, you know, getting that information will be hard. Getting to that Aboleth will be hard because, you know, they don't need to be nasty stat blocks.
The Underdark is the undersea.
Yeah.
So they're not just normally in deep sea. Not normally,
They can
but
be.
like
they can be.
That's what I'm saying. Like
a lot so I read that when they came from the far realm, that most of them, not all, but most of them decided to live in the Underdark.
I could imagine that. Probably like I would imagine that the undersea is even less traveled than the deep sea, just because, you know, especially now with the evolution of D&D races having like titans, and we are blessed by our DM gods, i.e. my other sibling, my sister and her partner have given us the ability to work in the sea with wetsuits and breathing devices. So I can imagine like it's a creature people could happen upon,
Yeah,
or if they chose to live in the deep sea. But like, I don't think people aren't going into the Underdark like willy-nilly, let alone the undersea. Like, think about how terrifying the deep sea is. Think about how terrifying our sea is, let
yeah,
alone a fantasy deep sea, let alone a fantasy underdark undersea.
yeah,
Terrifying.
yeah.
Absolutely terrifying. I can't even
But
imagine worse
they're
kind of
also like they're also the
creatures.
type of creature who, I mean, if we want like they are not normal. Like even in comparison to other psionic creatures like the Aboleths, they are stacked with psionic power in comparison because they are born completely sentient and like with lifelong memory of their entire species. So like when you're 1 day old out of an egg and you're an Aboleth, you still remember like the dawn of your race.
which is
So
the dawn of time.
Yeah,
yeah,
essentially, like that's
is
insane.
that because so I did read when Aboleths die, they go back to the elemental plane of water, and then until they find a new body. So
Yeah.
I would imagine it's kind of like that, like never it's they can live an extremely long time, but in the same sense they're also immortal.
Yeah,
It's
they have like a
their
collective
minds. Like
sentience, that they
yeah.
come from and return to essentially.
Yeah, not quite as hive mind as like mind flares
Yes.
are, but
Yeah.
more just like, you take what you have and like once you're dead, it goes back into like the collective or
But
something.
also like did you guys read that they can absorb the memories of the things they consume?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like any people or adventurers that they might happen upon, like animals or anything, they get to have those like unique memories as well, and that also adds to the collective.
So the one of the very unique things about aboleths is that they can remember everything that every aboleth has ever remembered, essentially, and they are quite literally the oldest monster of this type in existence because they were created by whatever god or force created sentient life at the beginning of time. And so basically, and I read this in a couple places. I thought it was super interesting. Is that the aboleth is the closest to knowing as much about the world as us as players know about the world of D&D, because they have lived through like cataclysmic events and seen the world end multiple times and have lived through it. They
That's so
also
cool.
have an existential understanding of all different aspects of life because they get the memories from all these random things that they feed on. And so every time an aboleth eats a sentient creature, it gains its like memories, abilities, emotions, and things like, well, maybe not abilities, but if you think about every aboleth that's ever eaten any kind of sentience gains that sentience since the beginning of time, and then they all like collectively add
Yeah.
to this brain. Like they know
The
the
knowledge.
gods, they know everything.
Yeah.
So I would argue that they actually have the knowledge of the DM, not just your average player.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you
Like,
imagine if they ate something of a hive mind? Would they collect all the memories and thoughts of the whole hive?
If
Probably.
that creature had been connected to the hive mind, I would assume so.
I would imagine that had to have happened because, like, I believe mind flayers are like their mind
Arch
flayers
enemy
and
or something
aboleths
like that.
because
Well,
they're one of those creatures. They're so similar in their psionic. Not obviously we've already talked. Their
yeah.
aboleth like a much higher form of it, but like they still are close enough creatures that you think they should mesh, but they actually do not.
Well,
Yeah.
I read that it's because the Aboleths can remember like the time before modern gods and the time before ancient gods, but they can't quite place when and where and how the mind flayers came
Interest.
about. Like that's one memory that they don't have, and it kind of irks them.
Yeah, it's
Do you
because
know how flares came about?
well, yeah, the Aboleth is the beginning of all things, and the Mind Flayer is the end of all things. Because the Mind Flayer is never technically invented or like brought into existence, because
They do it themselves,
they
right?
do it themselves, yeah. So
Mhm.
they like seed themselves in the past. So it's like no one really knows at what point they were created because they create themselves.
Yeah.
So they're kind of an enigma as far as like the origin of their creation. But they're also like in D&D lore at the very end of things. They've conquered the universe and then everything ends. So that's probably why the Aboleth doesn't, is because they're like paradoxical.
Yeah, they're
Gotcha.
exact opposites, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Aboleth, as I'm like, as we're talking about this, Dylan, tell me your thoughts. Are we thinking that this is where the McElroys create, how they started the idea for their song jellyfish things?
No, I think that was like totally just Griffin's
Yeah,
creative mind, but I could be wrong.
absolutely. But I'm like, I feel like Griffin probably like, I feel like these carry a lot of aspects of that creature in their campaign. So I just think that's so cool.
I think so too. I think that when I first started investigating the Aboleth, like the first like 10 things I read was like, this is like a benevolent creature who like is not necessarily evil. And then almost immediately after, I was like, oh, they live in like societies that enslave groups of creatures in the Underdark and disfigure them so badly that you can't like, there's no way to tell what race they originally came from, and they just serve
lots of slavery going on here.
Yeah, it's D&D, so they're probably gnomes. But also, oh yeah, I didn't want to get too far away from it. The stat block doesn't seem that beefy, and there's not really stat blocks for them. But the one in the current monster manual of 5e is the weakest of the Aboleths.
Yeah.
Like
in my opinion, that's like a starter one.
Yeah,
you know,
it's like the slave, the slave driver, the one that enthralls the creatures to work for the even crazier Aboleths, who are like in their layers doing scientific experiments that would break people's minds.
Yeah, in that way, like the Aboleth stat block to me is like the version that mortals can lay eyes on. You know what I mean?
Honestly.
Whereas like anything higher than that, and you're getting into like H.P. Lovecraft type of like
just
things where you
terrors.
can't. Yeah, you'll look at it, but you will not come out of there the same, and you might want to like consider how badly that could go for you. You know, like he might not do anything to you at all, but whatever that Aboleth is doing will like melt you. You know, like
oh my gosh. See, this is why. I'm maybe we shouldn't have chosen Aboleth, because now I'm scared of the Aboleth that I know in my campaign.
Yeah, I it's so funny that
the same. I know it's not, but
like I definitely understand and remember where we met that, but now I'm like, that doesn't seem like an Aboleth.
It also said it was the last of its kind. So it could have lost a lot of that malevolence and just been like how lonely is it, right? To have the knowledge that at one point you were the only thing in the world thriving in society, and you have the memories of every single Aboleth and all of time and existence, and now you know that you're the last one and there's no way for you to reproduce. Oh, there's two, but they can only reproduce like once every 500 years.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was 5.
I think it's a long time.
Oh,
5 years or 500? That's a big difference.
I think it's like they only reproduce like once every 500 years. It's super rare. They don't really need to. 500 years isn't that long for an Aboleth.
Not for them. No. Yeah.
No, when your lifespan is God knows how long.
But then again, they've been around since they've been around since 1E, so their ecology has changed a little bit.
That's true. Well, I mean, it's just kind of one of those things. Like, if you've been around since the beginning of time, you're bound to change the environment and the quote-unquote society around you.
And
it just happens.
So
you know?
I've got a question, a theoretical question. Aboleths gain all of their knowledge when they're born and stuff like that. But then you can, as an Aboleth, like go and like swallow a halfling, swallow a dark elf, or a hook horror or whatever, and you gain on an individual level those memories. Now, do you think those things that they experience over their very long lives start to evolve them enough that like any of their offspring start to come out just a little different?
Oh, 100%, I would guess.
Okay.
See
Uh,
that?
Oh,
Well, I think it's a bit cyclical, just because, like, you start eating things, you're most likely eating evil sentience, considering where it's found, right? So you're eating a lot of like drow and like other
Dwerger.
things, yeah, mostly things with bad intentions, and so like you're kind of morphed to that. Like you have all these gruesome societal structures like ingrained in your memory, and then you grow and get stronger and start eating the more like enlightened races like dwarves and elves and humans, and so you start to like gain this knowledge of like, oh, there's maybe like a more happy purpose to life. But I would say like the more and more and more you eat, you kind of get that like ultimate being mindset where it's like nothing really matters.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna eat
like
what I'm
even
gonna eat.
these enlightened races still solve their problems with war. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So
at the end of the day, to the average person, they're gonna look evil as fuck because
they're detached.
Yeah, they're detached. They have the gods mindset.
Yeah.
They have the mindset of a DM, and a DM will TPK you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sometimes that's our only goal.
Yeah.
You shall not. Anyway.
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I'm trying.
Yeah, you try it as hard as you can, and I don't know, it might happen.
We're getting close.
I think like you put us
I
in
personally
positions.
loved. As I say, I personally loved that. Not last session because I didn't get to it, but the one before that, where you fought that. Yeah, that one I was like, oh, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
He tried. He tried so hard.
I was like, oh, here it comes.
Yeah, these guys are all level 16 with crazy enchanted magical items that I came up with, so my fault. But now they're like getting all their stat blocks have like max HP, and they all have legendary resistances and actions and stuff. Just we're getting close.
For context, in our campaign where this sibling, Dylan, is our DM, he just gave us he didn't overpower us, but we are pretty OP.
We're very OP.
And especially as like 7 level 16s. So he does his best to try and TPK us, and it usually means one of us goes down. But to be fair, he downed my character for probably the first time in her existence.
Yeah.
So
I think I got closer.
Take that as a win.
Yeah, I got closer to being downed in a real fight, not like a bout or anything, than I've ever been.
Yeah, I mean, you try and 1v1 ancient, or not even an adult silver.
Oh no,
dragon.
But I'm in the regular fight.
Yeah,
took me down even further because I couldn't quit. I had to keep going.
What is a late game fight without a couple death saves?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think I utilized my character more fully that session than I ever have because I needed to,
Yep. And then just so everyone knows, one of the hardest things in the campaign was getting up a hill, or in the session was getting up a small hill.
Yeah.
Because there was acrobatics checks that needed to be made, and that
small hill, he says.
It was like a 60-foot cliff, but hey,
floating in the sky.
So there was a little bit.
Yeah.
We didn't even have to mess with.
That part's kind of important.
Yeah, a little bit.
We luckily didn't have to mess around with fall off the edge of a floating island mechanics because
we had benevolent dragons who were down to like catch us in the middle of the air.
Yeah,
and I tested that quite frequently.
Yeah. Those were luck checks. They did.
Yeah.
Talking about your leap of faith.
If you guys are interested in hearing us do a play-by-play of our D&D sessions, maybe we'll start a Patreon and do some of those episodes for you guys. But
yeah, that'd be fun.
This episode is about
Back to the
Aboleths. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. What kind of experiments do you think they're doing? Because it says like not necessarily the one that's in the monster manual, but the elder ones are in there doing some kind of crazy experiments that would bend the mind of mortal races.
Yeah,
Do
I'm
you-
assuming that they're like trying to unify planes or
Sure.
trying to like create the spark of chaos on the prime material, stuff like that, where it's like it could have horrifying, like cataclysmic results, but this is an Aboleth and he needs to know.
Yeah.
Like doing experiments, trying to figure out like the results, just so he knows what the result is
That's
going to be.
literally it. Yeah. Like they don't care what happens. They just need to know the information at that point.
That's a good
At
point.
that point, they're literally like playing God just to
Mhm.
find out.
Yep. Because if it knows, then every other Aboleth from there on out will know. And like, it's not like whatever happens is going to kill them. So
True.
You know what's crazy is a CR10 monster with regional effects.
What does regional mean?
So
it's like lair
it's
actions,
it's
but
like layer, but much bigger. Like so,
much bigger.
they're not always necessarily things that are like detrimental, but they, like for example, underground surfaces within 1 mile of the Aboleth's lair are slimy and wet and difficult terrain. So
Yep. For a mile.
for a mile, yeah.
And that's not even including their actual lair actions, which are fucking terrifying for a CR10. Like it can use water if it's near it to attack people in 60-foot radiuses and like cause psychic damage through water, and like it's insane.
And this is just the lowest level of the
Yeah.
Aboleth. So you imagine like even just 10 of them, right?
Well, in my, like, okay, I know that this will happen at the end, but like in my head, it's one Aboleth, but it's like a horde of slaves.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like the toughest things that he could find to keep.
Do they do experiments on other Aboleths? Because like they could.
I don't know.
That could be a answer for why there can be such wild differences in like
What
appearance or something. Like, or they see how there's a flying Aboleth. Like there was some type of experiment done where they were like, okay, well we're gonna like only give you birds or like flying. I don't know.
Maybe they went and ate a bunch of flump.
Maybe.
Yes.
Oh no, not the
Flump here on Mornings with Monsters.
They're lawful evil, so maybe.
I was wondering though, like because I know that they like sometimes live together.
Yeah.
I would be very curious to see what their like interpersonal relationships are like with other Aboleth, you know, because we know from doing the Illithids that like while they are all hive mind and they live together, there's always like a part of an Illithid that they try to keep secret to like get up in the ranks over another.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like Aboleths. Yeah, it doesn't seem like they need one. You know what I mean?
So I think that the Aboleths don't necessarily have a hive mind. I think they just know everything that the other one knows. They could probably tell, like they can communicate telepathically.
Yeah.
But they have to. So,
yeah, like I know that it's not like passive info sharing like a hive mind would be, but I'm saying like because of their detachment and they know other Aboleths know what, like to an extent, what they know. Do they even need that, like, well, I have to get up over this Aboleth, or do they just see them as like other of their kin and like it's fine?
I don't know, but I would guess that they don't fear death, because why would they?
Right.
So if you have no fear of death and you know that like no matter what you'll still be there at the end of the day, and the only thing you fear is mind flayers who are on the far realm, which you know you're never going to see unless there's like, you know, distorted like areas in the Underdark where the far realm is like intermingling with the material plane. I don't think you would care so much about having a higher status, because you would literally just have the understanding that if this Aboleth has the capability to be better than me, then it is better than me. and it should be doing this, and I should be doing this.
Okay,
I don't know.
so
I don't
like
know.
in my head, I am like likening Illithids to Slytherins and Aboleths to Ravenclaw. While like usually people don't think about Ravenclaw in a bad light. Ravenclaws are the smart people who will literally go to any length to find an
Yeah, they're
answer.
cunning and
Yeah, but
witty.
like the Slytherins are the same. Like cuz a lot of them are just as equally smart, but they're very selfish about what they know and how they use it and where they're going and how to get there, and it's a rank and file system for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that they would try to one up each other either, because why would they need to? Because if A and B, A figures out this, B automatically gets it. You know what I mean? Because since they're all
Well, but like we were
one of
saying
them
earlier,
knows.
it's not a hive mind, so he would actively
No,
have to share that information.
but I thought you said that once one of them knows it, they all know it.
So that's the
It's
case
more so
with
like
Aboleth.
if an aboleth knows something and learns something and then has a child, like reproduces, those children are
Or it
born
dies.
knowing it, but not the entirety of the race. They still have to talk to each other about that.
Okay, I got you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's confusing because it's almost a hive mind.
But I mean, it's
Yeah.
like how we talk at the table. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I might have telepathically found out a bunch of information, or I might just be like speaking to someone away from my party, but like I get to say, oh, I tell my party, and essentially all of that information is passed. Now
Yeah.
we don't know, but I would assume that aboleths share information essentially like that when they feel
Probably.
like it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
New tagline for Aboleth: the monster or the PC character of monsters. Yeah.
Yeah. And I tell the rest of the party.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting because one of the differences in these, the only edition that these creatures are not characterized as aberrations is 4th edition,
Oh,
and they're considered magical beasts. And I think they did that because of the intelligence. And like, I'm like, I looked it up. I was like, what is the main difference? And I think the main difference is that magical beasts have like a higher intelligence, like can have a higher intelligence. So I think it was just like their way of like, it could be either, but I think they're too alien of a creature to actually be considered a magical beast.
yeah. I mean, for me, I feel like it's kind of an insult to what an aboleth is to call them any type of beast, because they are so much more developed than like, you know, even like a magical warg or an awakened cow or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, these things are not in the same realm, like at all. You know,
No.
even on their base, they're not.
Yeah, their
And I don't.
brain can literally stretch down to the end of their tails.
Yeah, yeah. It's fucking nuts.
Hey, I'm just telling you what it's.
No, it's
what-
cool. I like that fact. It's just
interesting.
weird,
Yeah.
right? That they would do so much of
that's
a
what I thought.
limiter. Yeah,
They went back to aberration for 5th
Yeah.
edition.
I don't blame them for that. I think that's a
Everything
good
in the
idea.
far realm is an aberration,
Yeah, yeah,
That's what yeah.
essentially.
It's
Yeah. Yep.
it's very weird. It's very weird.
Well, on
But
that
we love-
note, guys, we're gonna have to take a short break here. I do feel like this slimy substance all over the floor, and it's just like there's like a 1/4 inch of it, but luckily I have like this little thing. My feet aren't touching it yet, so I'm gonna
Okay.
try and clean that up. I'll be right back. Hey guys, it's me, Dylan. Welcome back to the middle of the episode. I know it's been a while, but we thought we would kick off our little resurgence with a very special episode. A huge shout out to Aether. Thank you so much for hanging out and discussing the Aboleth with us. And remember, guys, if you want to suggest a monster for a topic of discussion for a future episode, you can reach us at morningswmonsters@gmail.com. Tell everyone you know to check us out wherever they get their podcasts. Check us out on Instagram, on Facebook, all the places. Leave us a like, follow, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, depending on which platform you choose to listen to us on. And as always, huge shout out to at Missing Cake for the amazing cover art for our podcast and everything else. And thank you to at Olava's Cryptid Crafts. Check them out as well on Instagram. They helped us develop our sticker that you may have found this podcast through. That's going to do it for me this week. I'll let you get back to the rest of the Aboleth episode and hold on tight, because it's a fun one and a scary one. Alright, bye. Welcome back, guys. I cannot clean up this mucus. It is ethereal. It is very strange. But I'll deal with that later, I suppose. But I do. I did think of some questions for you guys on our break. First one, important. We're gonna really deep dive some really crunchy lore here. If the Aboleth had a day job, what do you think it would be?
Ooh, it would be a prison guard.
Think
I'll
so?
No,
play a
it would be
DMV worker.
A DMV worker's good.
Yes.
I picture it as like the triple PhD holding like middle manager of like a research lab.
Very good as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like very capable and very smart, but like barely uses its actual mind for that. It just basically tells everybody else to get these jobs done, you know?
Yes.
My first thought
John.
goes right to like college professor. So it can figure out the smartest students and then eat them in its downtime.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. Like, oh yeah, you'll spend a year as my teacher's aide, and then at the end you'll get an ascension, you know? Like,
yeah, I need to speak to you after class.
Ascension.
Yeah. You'll become
Good.
part of my biology, and so you will be greater than the sum of your parts.
Oh God.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, that was
Okay.
our crunchy lore question. I hope you enjoyed it.
I like that.
So everyone's played for a while. How would you kill your entire party with this monster?
I got a good one.
Go on.
Okay. I will well, obviously the Aboleth is gonna be like your big bad or whatever. And I actually discussed this with Alex as well. And the reaction I got out of him was, "That's gross, ew." Which means it's perfect, in my opinion, honestly. So my thing is okay, you're in the Underdark, you trek through around the Undersea and all that, and you come up on this big lair for some whatever reason you're there, and out of the shadows, an Aboleth with a mind flare on its back come out and just kind of like glide right in front of you. And the fact that they are working together, that would terrify the crap out of me.
Yeah, I would not like that.
What would be not good?
Yeah.
I mean,
Ugh. I'm thinking like matriarch kind of a thing, like where you have like a crazy souped up like ultimate Aboleth in the Underdark who has regional effects that you start seeing as you get closer and closer to it. And then you have to like fight off, have a crazy ass battle with like maybe 2 or 3 of the standard Aboleths. And they're just like the first guys you see, and then all of a sudden there's like another group of stronger Aboleths, and at the very end there's just like this crazy all-powerful ancient one that would just totally wipe you. I don't think the party would be expecting more and more and more Aboleths. I think they're just strong enough to wipe a slate clean.
Yeah. I would go the insidious route and have my party find an NPC that they just like immediately fall in love with. And that NPC would like guide them to a lot of like really high yield quests. Like they'd get magical items, they'd get a like shit ton of gold, or like the favor of a mayor or some shit like that. And the trust would start to be built like in implicit levels, you know. And I would like have the NPC tell them of the tale of his homeland, like maybe have him be a kobold because everybody loves kobolds, and like tell him how the clan got wiped out, and like, you know, he hasn't seen his home cave in like 25 years, and like he'd really just love to see it again, and like get the party to go not only to this cave but into it and forgo long rests, battle whatever there is like that's in there that is like strong enough that the party's utilizing spell slots, utilizing limited time skills, like basically getting bare like to nothing at the end of it, where the NPC leads them to the Aboleth who's controlling him, and they all just get consumed to
Ugh.
feed the Aboleth's mind.
3 days of hard level encounters into a deadly encounter with no spell slots. Ugh.
Yeah, pretty much, and exhaustion because
And
like
exhaustion.
you know, I would probably make the party roll to trust for like, well, do you guys want to forgo a long rest? He says it should be fine. You know what I mean? Like,
And then
see
you're
how they
taking
feel.
max damage on everything because you're failing all your saving throws. Ugh.
Yep, and you have disadvantage on your attack rolls, and
And
you know what I mean?
everything's
Like,
difficult terrain.
yeah,
So your speed's
yep,
halved. Ugh.
yep,
That's
yep.
mean.
I would
And like there would be
really
the signs,
ask.
like there'd be mucus and shit.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I'm like, you have to, for me as a player, to not just be mad at you as
Yeah,
a person.
yeah.
Like, I would have to be like, there would have to be ways out. There would have to be a way to
Well,
win.
you could
But
just take a long rest. You know what I mean?
exactly,
Like
there
there's
would
not
have to be. But like, if it's purely you not actually doing checks, you just trusting the DM and not like, and be like not
Yep,
checking on your NPC and being
yep,
like, oh, is this person actually trustworthy, or
yeah,
are they just like a farce?
yeah.
Because like that shit happens.
Gotta do those insight checks.
Yeah, and that's the
Gotta
thing,
do
like
it.
it's an encounter, in my opinion, that goes further than your normal D&D encounter, because this is a boss that should not be fought straightforward. It should not be a test of brawn. It should literally test your players at the table in how well they know how to play the game.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
how
feel like
much they're willing to test and prod and poke and see just what's going on, you know?
it's similar to like when Dylan threw the black pudding at us when we were in a cave, and he's like, he literally told us at a certain point, like, you're not supposed to fight it.
Yeah, you can't win. Sorry.
This is a no-win scenario. You have
Hold
to get
on.
out of the situation.
I didn't,
You didn't
say
say
that it was
say that.
unfightable. I said that its
No,
hit
you
point
didn't say that.
maximum was absurd.
He told us the
Yeah, he
information,
did.
which at the time was a clear, like, if you're smart, not this is not what he said. This is
What
Your
how I
interpretation.
what he
inferred.
said. If you're a smart player, you will not fight this thing, and you will use everything you can to
To get the
escape
fuck out.
this scenario.
It was a
Yeah,
tidal
'cause
wave
it's
of black pudding.
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely. No,
I
and that's what I'm
essentially,
saying. It's like,
yeah, I did the same
like,
thing
when
with
you
you
fight a
guys.
creature like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I did the same thing with you guys, like recently in the Feywild with the water elemental, you know? Level
Yeah,
2s
you did. Yeah,
should
you
not
did.
fight a water elemental straight up. You guys should not do that, you know? But
we could have killed it, but
you could have. You
but
could
I
have.
died
Yep.
immediately before I
Yep.
could do anything. So
Yeah,
You
well,
died.
Here.
Ziggs died. Melina, did you go down?
I don't know.
I-
Probably.
I know
don't think
Tony.
she did.
Tony was like one of the only ones who didn't go down
yeah, he
because
showed up.
he just shelled up.
Yeah, I
don't-
might
I
have
don't
been
think-
alive, but
Oh.
I'm a very cautious player.
True.
I don't think Castiel went down.
Oh, John
course
went
not.
down. John went
That's
down.
what it was.
John went
John
down
went down.
hard too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is a perfect monster to really like show your characters that there's out of the box ways of playing, and
Yeah.
that even though everything doesn't have to be this complicated just to get through, you can still utilize these skills to maybe get bonus information or something you wouldn't have found, or a quest or something like this. And like a fight like this really opens their eyes to what they can use and should use to fight something like this.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Aboleths are so far down in the Underdark that the Drow consider it too deep.
Yeah.
So if you're going that far down and expecting it not to be a fucking heavy,
slog fest.
yeah,
Yeah.
literally like a slog through all sorts of, you're gonna have to test everything. If you're not expecting that,
I think I know what I would do. I would lure half the party whether it was with like my psionic abilities or with like a whatever it is, like a creature or the promise of a battle or the promise of a whatever the fuck. I try and like lure half of them, somehow get my slime in their mouths, uh, turn them into slimy aboleth creature things and get them under my control. And then I'd make them fight each other to the death.
Oh God!
Oh Jesus, that's brutal.
Wow, Melina.
Take their
That's
healer.
pretty dark.
Firstly, that you would split the party is hilarious because like you hate when parties
I would
split.
never split the
Yeah,
party,
you
but I
hate when
Split
parties
the
split.
party.
So many times I've heard you say, "Don't split the party."
We're literally like walking through a village, and I'm like, I want to go go to this cake shop, and the other part.
Okay,
like,
we're all going to the cake shop.
Yeah, it's like, well, I want to go get a dress at this clothing shop, but we're not splitting the party. It's like you're in a town.
Okay, see,
You could say Melina's
now
a little
that we have an
traumatized
average
from.
of, like 6 players in each campaign, I don't feel as bad about splitting
Yeah.
the party.
Yeah.
But when there was only like 4 of us, I'm like, we're not splitting the goddamn party, guys.
Yeah.
It's like you get shanked in the the dress store. Everyone roll initiative. You guys are 300 feet away.
Yeah, exactly. The first
You never
6
know.
rounds is just dashes,
Yes.
you know?
Oh,
My
God.
biggest question is I just want to look at her and be like, what did your DM do to you?
That's
you
what I'm
okay?
saying. Like, we haven't done anything
Like-
to deserve this.
It's like, wow.
No, I think it's trauma from Taz. It's
Yeah.
Oh,
it's built in for me from the Adventure Zone and listening to that because it's 3 players, so like anytime they
Ooh,
split the party,
fuck.
it was bad.
That's
And
detrimental.
so like my brain is just like, don't split the party.
Like at least in
And
the
when I
Witchlight.
first started playing in like 1E or like 1.5, whatever the fuck it was, advanced edition, beginning of D&D times. Yeah, they were, even though we had like 5, 6 players, they were always very adamant. Like every time we went to split the party, they would always make it harder on us. Like
Yeah.
so, I do think as much as it's Taz, it's also like my first DM was a little bit like he was very old school, and I loved that. So I'm just like, no, we're not splitting no parties. But if I'm the bad guy, I'll fucking split your party.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that sounds like an awesome way to get TPK'd, to be honest. Like, I would very much have fun as a player killing my party members. Like, that would be cool.
And then the whole fact of turning them using the slime and
Yeah.
getting them to ingest it. It's just like,
Yeah, because you don't
that's
have to you don't
gross.
have to eat it, right? Like they just have to touch it.
I know,
Yeah.
but I want them to.
She was like here's what she needed, but she just went.
So it's just like, no, I'm gonna make sure.
Yeah.
Yup.
And yeah, it's fucked up. I mean, you're making con saves no matter what if you're in melee range.
Yeah.
And then if
Yep.
you are affected, you can only breathe underwater. You can no
Yeah.
longer breathe air.
Yeah,
And you
From
take
what-
6 acid damage average every 10 minutes unless you like
'Cause
get
you're
moistened
diseased.
or something. Yeah, and like that sucks, man. Like so somebody
And I
or
was-
you
I
will
was
have to
even
use that.
reading it, but see, I was even reading that disease is actually a specialty disease and only can be cured by like higher level healing.
Yep.
Yeah,
Greater
heal or
restoration.
another 6th level spell.
Yeah,
Crazy.
which is
It's funny because like
6th
my
level or higher.
character who's a healer, I don't even I keep 1 first level heal on me, and all the other heals I keep on me are like 6th level and higher.
I mean, I
'Cause
don't
I'm like,
blame you.
Wonder
might
if
as
you
well.
could do if it
Yeah.
would count if you use like a heal spell but upcast it. Maybe.
If if heal, like if it's an actual heal,
Yeah.
it says that heal or another 6th level.
Like remove curse or something.
Yeah, so like basically like heal will work, and I don't even think you have to upcast it.
Oh, okay.
But like
A healer-
if you try other things that are not heal, it has to be a 6th level spell or higher.
Yeah, I would be super
'Cause-
mean. I'd be like greater restoration. You have to get a wish spell.
Yeah.
Something.
You have to like make a pact and cross class as a warlock.
Yeah, kill
You know what I
yourself
mean?
and then revivify.
Yeah.
So would lay of hands
Feel
work
like
on it then?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
hands is
It's
not.
basic. It's basic disease.
But
rather than
paladins,
that's-
lay on hands.
paladins
Well, it
would be
says
immune to it.
cure any disease. That's the thing.
I don't know.
Yes.
Well, that's not.
A
I think
higher
it's a DM
level.
choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a DM choice.
Yeah, I would say
It's
no.
cool.
I would say you'd have to do extra steps to let that work. Like I
What
would
are the
make
rules?
certain things.
What are the rules on lay on hands? Like, if you
He's-
can lay
it's
on
that-
hands more than once a day, then it's like,
Yeah, you can.
okay, well, if you want to lay on hands to cure this disease, then you can't lay on hands for 3 days.
Yeah, that's essentially what I would do.
Something
Or I
like
would
that.
like have them do like a 3-day like a
Or like
3-day
you can
kind
lay
of
on hands, you have to take damage.
Yeah.
Or take exhaustion because
Yeah.
you're going to be focusing that much on it.
Yeah, or I would make you do like, especially since you're a paladin, I'd do like 3 days of like service quests. You don't have to do it, but if you do, it's going to be fucking boring and tedious for you, but you'll be able to do your lay on hands for a removal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, looking at the exact wording of lay on hands, I might allow it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I don't know if most people would think of it right away.
I agree. I agree. We play BG3, and so like you get levels of lay on hands, and so like you can do like the lowest amount of health back, the max amount of health back, or use all of your lay on hands and take away a disease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 5e, it's it costs 5 hit points of the lay on hands pool to cure a disease or neutralize a poison.
Oh, I would take it all if it was
Yeah,
to
I'd
be
Yeah,
something
it all
like this.
too.
I'd
Yeah,
probably do
honestly,
something.
As a DM, I would make them take it all.
Yeah,
to be
for sure.
completely honest with
And
you.
I like
you're-
Melina's thought about 3 days worth of it too, because like I really do
Yeah.
think that it could be that much.
Like, almost like you do the lay on hands, and then like something in the slime and the psionic abilities blocks you for like it, like I don't. There's
Oh,
like
well, you know what I would do?
Oh,
some-
thanks.
You have to roll a d4 to see how many hours the diseases take effect. I would say roll a d4, and for every
And then roll the
every
damage
number
for every
is
10
like
minutes.
20 hit points of lay on hands you have to spend.
Yeah, because that does do a specific amount of damage. It you know, like if you're
Right.
diseased for 4 hours, that's what 6 times 4, 24 like times that you'll take the 3d6.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Just something like that. Make them spend more
yeah.
than 5.
Uh-huh.
That'd be fun. But
Yeah.
also leave
Yep.
it up to a roll to see how much.
definitely is-
I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of do like her idea though about the 3 days of basically restitution because
Yeah.
the enslaved trait of that is a 3-day thing.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really
It's
good.
almost, yeah. You're like saving them and taking on, like, instead of like exhaustion for 3 days, which would be very brutal.
It would be brutal.
Like-
that would be brutal.
And I guess, especially if you're the only healer in the party, it would be brutal to not have your lay on hands too.
I think
but-
I would do the 3 days, but I would up it a little bit. Every day the paladin needs to make a charisma check. And if he doesn't pass that charisma check, then it adds another day to how many times he has to lay on hands to remove this curse. They won't take
Damn.
the other person who has the curse won't take the damage, but it will extend that like threshold until he can pass 3 charisma checks in a row and lay on hands
I like that.
successfully. You know what I mean? Because you're not just dealing with damage. You're not just dealing with like a simple
Yeah.
curse.
We're
You're dealing
talking-
with something that's like enslaving you and changing
You'd
your
almost
body.
play it as like 3 days of constant like laying on hands to like remove-
Essentially, yep.
So you just be like constantly working at this. I like
Yeah.
that. I like.
Yep.
I think that those are like those are 2 very solid ways of dealing with.
And make
That
them
type
have to like go find a cloister or something that's
You'll never have to
constant
deal with
lay
that.
of hands. Yeah, that's what I'm sitting here thinking is like I really hope we never run into an Aboleth.
Yeah, same. I mean,
That's what
it's
I gathered from this whole
yeah.
thing.
I
It
don't
makes you
want to,
scared of
especially
all of
under the
them.
DMs that we play
I
under.
know.
I'm not really looking forward to that.
Yeah,
you know?
I
It
would
was
make a
dope
meme.
Yeah.
My first
Yeah.
text to Alex after researching this thing is it was literally, "These things are terrible."
Terrible.
Yep, terrifying.
Out of
I know, and I've already had a conversation with one, and now I'm like, aha.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe we can get it to work with us, though.
Maybe.
We are kind
No,
of weird.
like we're
Stampy's
already,
there.
I'm there. And paladins have to be the
Hey,
best class to deal with
I've
aboleths.
already built a bond with this creature.
Yeah.
I'm just saying he's got a god
or
shard,
did it
so
All
did,
like
to me.
or did it make you think you
I
built
got
a bond?
you. But can you charm things like he can? Okay, that's the only reason. That's what I meant. Like, is he can
know,
like
I was-
if all else fails and we need to like shit in a bucket, we have Stampy's shard to
If all
charm
else
this thing
fails.
permanently. Yeah,
Yep.
like
It's our failsafe.
We're doing the Aboleth a favor by helping it reunite with the only other living Aboleth.
It's true.
So I think we have it on our side.
But it could also be like these guys are capable and smart and kind. I'm going to eat them. You know.
Or I'm going to use them and then I'm going to eat them.
Mm-hmm.
My hope is that he is still with us when eventually, I have a feeling that, I mean, why else would they give us wetsuits? We've only been down to like the
Once.
seafloor once,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I have a feeling we're gonna end up dealing with Tritons more and
Yeah.
like being in underwater areas. So I'm like, maybe we'll have an underwater buddy. who
Maybe.
can
That would
help
be
us.
kind of cool. Yeah,
Maybe.
we have been fucking around with sea monsters down there too, so.
We'll just get our T-Rex a rebreather. Okay.
Gosh.
let's move on.
You wouldn't be able to swim.
We got just enough time for everyone's favorite question, at least mine. How would you like to see them used in gameplay or media? How would you like to, use these guys in a campaign? How would you not
Have
like to see them?
gameplay?
Yes, I
How
have seen an Aboleth in gameplay.
Yeah,
Where?
you.
I don't play video games. I don't know where they would have, like what games they would have been in.
Not
first
where, but
video
how
game.
would you use them? Or where?
Oh,
No,
okay.
I know how. Absolutely. I was just curious. I'm like, have they even ever been used in game?
Yeah, I don't know.
But interesting.
In D&D.
But hey, Aether says yes. So I
Wait,
mean,
Yeah,
other
I
than
think
D&D,
Yeah, it's a
I think
total
that
different game, honestly.
That's okay.
It's WoW,
I
right?
hope.
Yeah.
Is there Aboleths in WoW? Or something
Recently,
similar?
but they use them as a mount. I mean, that's like when I saw the pictures and then I saw what the Aboleth really was. That was the first thing that popped in my mind. I'm like, oh, that's an Aboleth.
Mm.
I mean, it's extremely close.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I think I would like to see a movie like where how we're all into the like Meg and like Deep Blue Sea. Like I think it would really actually be a very cool horror movie to have an Aboleth. Like you
I could see
see
that.
a bunch of like seamen go out like on a ship, like a fishing boat, and like only one of them comes back, but he's all he has to say is that like everybody would like just found some place to leave, like stay, like they just didn't come back because they found somebody or some place to be happy or whatever. It's this movie about getting the fishermen to like grab a bunch of tourists and like take them on like a yacht. The last thing that they see is this maw open up, and then the fisherman comes back and he's like, yeah, the people all found an island and they really liked it there, and so they just stayed and they didn't want to come back, so I just came back by myself because I got family to see and all that. And like all the while he's just like basically feeding this Aboleth slowly,
Oh
like
my
through
gosh.
coercion, because he's the only one who survived because he's like the smartest and most capable like sailor, and so the Aboleth kept him as a slave.
He's like, I'll bring you food if you let me live.
It'd be great. I think it would be fun because then I would make it so like you don't see it until like the very end, and
Yeah.
it's just like in comparison to the boat, it's like hundreds of times bigger.
It's just like you
than
see
it.
one
Like,
tooth and
it's
it's the
like
same
that.
size.
Yeah.
It's like that hole down by like Mexico where the people
Yes.
swim over.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't even do that.
Mm-mm.
Let alone
Nope.
see that thing. Like that's
Flew
the
over that
maul of
thing?
the Aboleth.
Crazy.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yep.
Terrifying.
I think that they should, because I'm still hoping that they do a series of D&D movies because I think that it was just so much fun,
It was
and the
amazing.
more people who like have watched it since it's come out on streaming, I feel like have loved it and like are not even D&D people, and they don't.
Yeah.
And I'm like constantly telling people, like, you don't have to know D&D to watch this movie. It's just fun high fantasy. I'd like to see them do some dealings with, you know, water serpents and aboleths and
Eldritch horrors of the deep.
Yeah.
crazy shit like that. And I'm not necessarily even saying like this party of
Right.
people necessarily, but even so, like, you know, we saw them get on a boat and perhaps sail, so it could be possible.
Yeah.
Could be interesting.
Yeah, it would be
I
fun
don't
because I mean, just from the first movie, if they kept the tone, it's like a very light and fun. You're supposed to be watching a party of real people play a D&D campaign, and like it would be interesting to watch all of that like light fun things, and they're on like a pirate boat and they're like ready to have like pirate adventures, and then all of a sudden the like tone just goes real dark gray tones and like mysticism and stuff like that.
Water turns. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that would be very interesting.
I
Very
could see that
interesting.
being the next Pirates of the Caribbean movie, honestly.
Ooh, that would be
That's
cool.
a good one.
That would be a good one. Yeah.
All right,
I
I
mean,
would probably watch that one.
yeah.
I would for sure
Yeah.
watch that.
That would have. I would too.
All right, I got one. Late game
Tell
arc,
us.
right?
Okay.
Party of adventurers meets a super creepy, like distorted, maybe like wood elf, like at a tavern, who like is just like Gollum-esque. Like you can tell he's really, really old. And he is just like desperate for help. And so like investigation checks, whatever, you find out this guy is telling the truth and he just really needs help. He takes you down into the Underdark to meet an Aboleth, and the Aboleth isn't aggressive, but the Aboleth wants to it's been doing all these experiments, but it needs a strong party to help it, and essentially goes I don't know, I guess forward or backwards in time to the far realms where the Aboleth are facing off against the Mind Flayers for like the eternal struggle to like make sure that the Mind Flayers aren't reseeded again, and that the Aboleths can like let the universe end or something like that. And just like this total mind-bending war of flying and floating Aboleths in the far realms against armies of Mind Flayers. Lots of like late game abilities being thrown around and crazy eldritch tentacle monsters everywhere in space. Yeah, that's what I would do.
That sounds horrifying.
Yeah, I'm just sitting there
It
thinking,
sounds
oh, this is the beginning and the end are literally fighting each other.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I want to see that conflict just like come to a fucking smash with a group of level 16 characters thrown in the mix.
And say that.
So Pete's.
I swear to God, Dylan,
You're not
if you
going to
throw
the
an
far
Aboleth
realm.
at us,
That's funny.
Well, you know, you might, if you go to the Underdark again, which is a mutated version of the Underdark in my world. Who knows?
I don't.
Depends on how deep you go. But if you run into an Aboleth, it ain't gonna be the regular 5e Aboleth. I'll tell you that. I'm gonna make it way worse.
Yeah,
I don't
Oh, yeah.
see it being that.
Yeah. If I see an Aboleth in your campaign, I'm terrified.
I mean,
I
I
can
see
promise you this
anything
much,
in his
Alex. I
campaign.
would
I'm
run out of
terrified.
wherever that was quicker than we did that Red Dragon and Tony's campaign.
True.
All
Oh
right.
my gosh, I can't imagine.
Aether, you got anything? Any
Yeah,
way you'd use them?
I was actually, well, based off like movie wise, I would go like old school Godzilla,
Oh,
just because I'm a Godzilla fan through and through.
Yeah.
But I would do something like that. It'd be corny as all hell. You'd like the little buildings getting knocked over by psionic waves and people being
That would be
enthralled.
cool.
But yeah, I would do something like that. But video game wise, I was thinking like of kind of like a God of War type thing. Like you have to fight this ginormous Aboleth, honestly. Like, you have to scale up it, actually go inside it to kill it and all that crap.
That would be
I
cool.
just think that would be an awesome, like, if somebody could do that, like I said, with,
Or
like,
a
the God of
hazmat
War.
suit.
Exactly. Like, you gotta take precautions to be able to do this stuff. But,
Precautions.
it'd be neat.
Absolutely, that'd be interesting.
Epic.
That or have something where they have different variants of an Aboleth.
I like that.
Like, because they have the flying, so what's to say there's not more?
Big
Like a
fan
blood
of
Aboleth. Instead of it swimming in pools of water, it swims in pools of blood.
Jesus Christ.
Or lava.
Yeah.
Or lava.
If Aboleths, like, they come from the like water, the plane of water elemental, like the elemental plane of water. There's also the one that flies. So it's like that one would have to have something to do with air. Like, I'm like, could we make elemental Aboleths off all
Yeah.
of them?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Like, do Aboleths at some point eat elementals? You know what I mean? Can they?
Kind of
For
like
sure.
evolve themselves into
I
that.
don't know why they
Yeah.
It's one of those
I don't see why
experiments.
not.
Yeah, exactly.
Was to figure out
Yeah.
how to eat elementals, probably.
That sounds amazing. You know what I mean?
I feel like there's
Terrifying.
got to be. It really says something about the element water that they were the beginning.
That's true.
It's one of the base elemental planes.
Yeah.
Because it gets really complicated because there's like water, air, fire, earth, and then you have like magma, marsh, ice, and smoke, and then it gets real crazy with like lightning, vacuum, ash, dust, salt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets really, and then there's even crazier ones like
There's a
elemental
salt plane?
Yeah, there's like a elemental plane of ooze.
Cool.
Yeah. And those are all like sub places, but yeah, it
Please
would be
don't
like
send us there.
yeah. I thought about it. Air, water, earth, and fire. Yeah. So it is one of the main four that would have been in existence. I'm assuming that like the elemental planes were probably created before the material plane, and then the Feywild, Shadowfell, and then branches out into uppers and lowers and far realm stuff like that.
I'm assuming it needed that.
Yeah, could you
That
imagine
makes
an
my brain-
Aboleth consuming a Modron and then turning mechanical?
If it consumes,
I would be more worried about its order. You know what I mean? Like, it's already lawful evil, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, according to 5e.
That's terrifying to think about it eating a lawful.
Oh, there's
good?
a good one.
All
Lawful
editions.
neutral.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I just gave him an idea.
Yeah. What if an Aboleth ate somehow a super ancient Aboleth ate the what is the god of the Modrons? The single.
Oh god.
The Prime
Modron
Yeah.
Prime.
Yeah. What if
Modron
it
Prime
ate that, which has like also has like a existential understanding of the fabric of time?
Oh God!
Like it would be unstoppable.
It would be unstoppable
because it would be able to reorder the worlds at a like fundamental level, however it would want to.
That reminds me of like you remember Gods of Egypt, the movie? Okay,
Yeah.
so like you go into like from like the pyramids, like the gods could go up into space to like see Ra. He was fighting the blackness, this monster that consumes like space and time and reality and all of that. I could definitely see there being like a god level arc of this elder crazy fucking Aboleth who finally was able to consume the Prime Modron and then just starts working its way like through planes, like plane by plane, consuming them to become like reality. Not to change it, not to make it in its image, but to become it so that it knows reality, like in its entirety.
Kind of like with like in the Green Lantern movie where what was the bad guy? He was like taking over part of the universe and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And if that was like an Aboleth, just like that red mist just going out across the universe, and it was literally just an Aboleth doing that.
Or like the bad guy from The Fifth Element. You know what I mean? Like the like planetary sentience that just starts to like take over things, you know?
The Aboleth figures out how to change its physical form into just like a void monster and
Yeah,
eat
exactly.
everything.
Oh.
That's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah. I mean, if it consumes to gain knowledge specifically, like, I would love to see one that got to a point where it's eaten gods. It's eaten, like the most ancient of dragons. It's eaten the core of an earth. You know what I mean? Like, now it wants to consume planes because it can.
Ugh. All right.
It's gonna be terrifying.
This thick fog is really just filling up. My eyes are starting to water, guys.
Uh-oh.
I might have to sign off here.
Can you
Danger
still breathe okay?
I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been talking through this glass of water that I've been chugging the whole time
Yeah.
for the last little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just have this need for water. Okay. I think that's going to do it for us this week. Don't
We'll see
forget.
if you survive.
Yeah, don't make your dump stat constitution, y'all.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, thanks for listening to Mornings with Monsters. This has been a fun one. Thank you, Aether, for joining us today.
Yes, definitely.
Super
Well,
good
thank you
stuff.
for having me.
You got it anytime. I'm Dylan,
I'm Alex.
I'm Alina.
and we'll see you next time.
Later.